God is trying to show you something every step of the way. When things seem to be going wrong, that's God's way of opening another door. I am convinced that God has been directing me every step of my life.
On the Word Network.
America used to be considered a godly country. It doesn't seem to be that way to me now. And I don't mean to be disrespectful or anything, but it's so many things they're okaying for the wrong reasons. There's not godly reason. People need to really open up the Bible, the Bible, and look in it, and really get it into their heart. And this, the way the Reverend Hood is doing this is a comfortable way. It's not forcing anything on people. It's a comfortable way and a loving way for it to continue to move in that direction.
The way Reverend Hood presents it, you can understand it, and it makes you want to delve into the Bible even more so that you can see more, because it seems like the program goes off too fast. We need the bread of life.
We really do.
These days, we need it more than ever. And Reverend Hood's ministry on TV is giving us our bread.
Personal power guided by Christian love. May the power of God's Holy Spirit fall upon you as you sit back and enjoy today's program. I introduce you now to Pastor Nicholas Hood III.
In the book of Galatians, the 6th chapter, the Apostle Paul writes to the church saying, do not grow weary in doing good. Do not grow weary in doing good, and at harvest time you will reap. And I've been thinking about this, the importance of just doing good, the importance of staying on task, the importance of staying focused, and above all things, don't give up. And so often in life we miss out because we give up on all kind of things. We give up on ourselves, give up on getting an education, give up on our dreams. The dream of success, the dream of having the kind of life that you want to have. And sometimes in life, we fail just because we gave up too soon. We didn't stay on task. A few weeks ago, I led a small group of people to Ghana. And I had two goals on this trip. One, for myself personally, I've been talking with some members of a Ghanaian church, the Bethel Presbyterian Church in Accra, about a partnership between our churches where our people can talk with their people by Zoom. Their men and our men can talk, our women, their women, our mutual children can talk. And so we did kind of a dry run of that during the trip. And so it's fantastic, and I'm sure it will work. But the other part of the trip was that as African Americans, Ghana is a fascinating place to visit because Ghana is one of the major centers of the slave trade, where the Ashanti people basically work with the British and they work with others, the Dutch, and they took prisoners and then enslaved them to be shipped to America. And so for those of us who are African American, it's a powerful experience because most of us can't track our family lineage beyond 3, maybe 4 generations. I talked to the guy who cleans my clothes from Korea. I told him the same thing I just told you. And he said, I said, how many generations can you go back in your family? And he said, 5,000. And then he put his hands like this. And he said, there's literally a book with all the people in my bloodline called Che, C-H-A-E. And he said, we're literally at 5,000. And I said, so that's why, that kind of trip was so important to us. But one of the things that kept reoccurring on this trip to Ghana and I saw it on the roadside, I saw it on churches, I saw it on billboards. It said simply, don't give up. Don't give up. Whatever you're doing, don't give up. And then when we got to the gravesite of Kwame Nkrumah, who's the first president of Ghana, he had an expression that he said, let me see if I get it right, forever forward, backwards, never. And I said, oh, okay, that's where these people are going with this phrase I kept saying everywhere I went. Don't give up, never give up. And I see the same message in the Apostle Paul in the letter that I shared with you in Galatians, that what Paul is saying is that you just have to stay on task. And he's saying, never give up on doing good. Think about why people very often will stop doing good or simply stop doing a good work. Sometimes because we get tired, sometimes because we're frustrated, sometimes we give up because it seems like somebody else always seems to know the way, that something else, some low-hanging fruit gets in your line of sight, and you feel like, well, rather than stay within the bounds of the law, I'll break the law. I'll sell dope. I will rob somebody else. I will commit fraud. And in the process, what you're doing is really going around the path from what Jesus is telling us. And what I hear the Lord saying is, don't grow weary. Don't grow weary in doing what is right. And that's the word I want to share with you today. For those of you who've taken the time to look at this program, there's somebody looking at this right now who I believe is growing weary. You're growing weary of a son and or a daughter who just can't seem to find their way. Somebody is growing weary of your own health care, your own body, growing weary in your marriage, wondering, what will it take? What do I have to do for my husband, my wife, to get on track, for us to get on track as a couple? And to me, one of the greatest bits of advice is from the Apostle Paul when he says, whatever you do, don't grow weary. Don't grow weary in doing good. And if you are caring for a sick person, if you've got a sick spouse, if you have a child who is sick, if maybe you are physically sick, at some point we have to ask ourselves, what is it that gives me the motivation to keep pushing, the motivation to keep trying, the motivation to strive for the best, to hope for the best, to work for the best. And sometimes you can see the end zone, and it gives you the energy to keep running that race of life, because you say, I can see the prize that's right there before me, that if I invest my money correctly, if I do the right things by my diet, and my exercise, then I can reasonably expect that I am going to live a good life, my body's going to stay healthy, and that I will be able to enjoy this life that God has given me. But sometimes people get tired, and sometimes we get tired of foolishness. Sometimes we get tired where it looks like the end result is just not coming fast enough. I talk with people all the time who tell me about how tired they've gotten with their diet, how tired they've gotten with their exasperation with a child or a grandchild, who seems to be lost along the way. And what Paul is saying is, whatever you do, don't give up. And I've lived long enough to realize that there are a number of people in this world who could have done so much better with their lives had they just stayed on task, stayed on point. And by staying on task, staying on point, that's half the battle. But if you get weary, you let your guard down, it makes it easier for the devil to knock at your door and tempt you in selling drugs, tempt you in trying to cheat somebody else, tempt you in doing something wrong. And, my mother used to tell me, she'd watch me doing homework. It's funny. My mother was working on a PhD, and she did most of her research we had a little breakfast nook in our house. I would do my homework. If this is the breakfast nook, I'm over here in the dining room, and my brother Emery would be in the closed-in outdoor porch. But my mother, from her perch in this little breakfast room, could see Emery and she could see me. She didn't have any problem with Emery because, believe it or not, Emery was focused. He was a character, and he became a character the older he lived, but he was really brilliant, and he had no problem doing his homework. He'd just sit there, and he got good grades. On the other hand, and I never remember my mother scolding Emery about his homework. But here I am over on this side in the dining room, and my mother is in the breakfast room looking at me, and she'd shout at me, and she'd say, "Focus, black man, focus. The black man's problem is a lack of focus." And she would have caught me dreaming. And what was I dreaming about? The football game I was going to play that week. She'd catch me dreaming about the parties myself and my band would play in on the weekends, Friday and Saturday nights. I'm daydreaming about all that stuff. And my mother could see in my eyes that my focus wasn't there. And what she was trying to say is the same thing the Apostle Paul was saying to the church. Paul is saying, whatever you do, do not grow weary in doing good. But it's hard not to grow weary when somebody's mean to you. It's hard to be nice in doing good when somebody has undercut you, when somebody has been untrustworthy to you, when somebody has cheated you out of money, when somebody has cheated you or tried to cheat you out of an inheritance, when somebody has cheated you on any level, big or small, it's very easy to assume an attitude, a negative attitude, even toward people who are your blood relatives, to say to yourself, I don't know if it's worth sticking with this person. I don't know if it's worth sticking with a brother if the brother's trying to cut me out of my inheritance. I don't know if it's worth fooling around, with, a sick person who needs care, who looks like no matter what I do, they just keep calling my name. They keep running me from upstairs to downstairs to get medicine, get this, get that. And sometimes people get tired and tired of caregiving. And Paul keeps coming back to this message, whatever you do, don't give up. Whatever you do, because at harvest, you will receive a reward. And in life, there's a harvest. In every life, there's a time to plant, but there's a time to pluck up what is planted. And when we pluck up, that's the harvest. And if you work hard in life, the harvest in life should be a reward for you. It's true in farming. It's true in parenting. It's true in love. That sometimes we miss the prize because we simply grow weary. We just get tired, and because we can't see the end. And we begin to wonder, is this really worth the struggle? So my friends, I'm going to be back in just a minute, but I want you to meditate on this theme of don't giving up. And I want you to ask yourself, have I given up? Has there ever been a time in my life when I walked away too soon, when I gave up too soon, when I lost hope in an individual, lost hope in myself? And what Jesus Christ is reminding us, that he came that you and I might have abundant life. But in order for you and me to reap this abundance of life, the first lesson is don't give up. Because if you give up, you walk away too soon. You might never see what God really has in store for you. So
there are people all across this globe who now will have the opportunity to know you like I do, because of course you are very forthcoming in telling stories about life, stories that are relatable, and that means something. How wonderful it is, and I just look forward to seeing how this platform, this new platform, will just rise and grow and really be a vessel through which you can be a blessing to folk all over this world, and Lord knows we need it.
the word I'm talking about today is don't give up, no matter what it is you want to do. I think of all the successful people that I can think of who at some point or other, somebody told them they just wouldn't make it, but they didn't give up. And the difference very often between the really successful and those who are not so successful is simply the ones who stayed on task. Believe it or not, you think about Walt Disney and Disney World, Disneyland. Walt Disney worked for somebody who told him he wasn't creative enough. And Walt Disney just kept pushing, even though he worked at a company where somebody didn't appreciate him, told him he'd never make it. I think about Thomas Edison, who had 1,000 failures testing out a light bulb. But Thomas Edison did not give up. I think about Muhammad Ali, who at 12 years of age, because somebody stole his bicycle, walks into the local police station in Louisville, Kentucky, and he's angry and he's crying and upset. And a police officer tells him, he said, now look, if you want to get those boys back who took your bike, you need to learn how to protect yourself and fight. He said, I'll show you how to box. And, in the beginning, the guy who showed Ali how to box, he said Ali was no better than any of the other kids, the little 12-year-olds there in the police department gym. He said, but the difference was Ali stuck to it. He just kept pushing. I think about Oprah Winfrey, who, had all kind of obstacles growing up, but she would not give up. The pages of success in this world are filled with people who just would not give up. Michael Jordan, who arguably among some, if not the greatest, the basketball player of all time, but he's one of them. But Michael Jordan in the 10th grade got cut from his high school basketball team. The coach cut him because he said Michael Jordan wasn't working hard enough. And the lesson in this, and Jordan will tell you, in his memoirs, he says that experience of getting cut from the team was one of the best experiences in his life, because he went home and he began to think to himself. He said, I'm embarrassed, I'm angry, I'm hurt that I got cut from the team, but I never ever want to put myself in a position where somebody can cut me. And he said from that point on, he decided he was going to be so good at basketball that he would never ever be cut from a team. And to me, the lesson in that for you and me, whether or not you want to be a basketball player, a Thomas Edison, inventing light bulbs, if you want to be a Walt Disney coming up with theme parks, the common denominator in all of this is that these are all individuals who had one desire, and they knew what they wanted to do, and they refused to give up. You don't have to be the best in the world at everything. You don't have to be the best in the world at anything. But it's important that you find something that you like. And if you find even just one thing that you like, what you'll find is that your life is very interesting. Life will always give you a reason to want to get up early. It will make you want to stay up late because you found something that you like. And I come back to this theme. Don't give up. You don't have to be the best, but it's important to work on trying to be the best. And if you work on trying to be the best, what you'll find is that sooner or later, you're going to be the best. And if you're not the best, you'll be close to it. You'll be on your way. And on your way to being the best, you'll be a better person. You'll be the best person you can be. I come back to that verse in John 10:10, where Jesus says, I come that you might have life and that you might have life more abundantly. Now, this doesn't mean that Jesus is hocus pocus. It doesn't mean that Jesus is magic. What it means, Jesus doesn't wave a wand and your life just turns around. I think the Lord expects you and the Lord expects me to use what we've got to get to where we want to be. That's the gospel according to James Brown. You got to use what you got to get to what you want. But Jesus wants that from us. Jesus wants you and me to use these hands. As Bobby Blue Bland would say, small but mighty, I can do most anything. The Lord wants you to use your hands. The Lord wants you to use your mind. The Lord wants you to use this God-given body and to the glory of God. And once you start doing that, you separate yourself from everybody else, because there are a lot of people out there who, frankly, are lazy. There are a lot of people in this world who are tired. There are a lot of people, I found, who are just depressed. Depressed because their life hadn't worked the way they wanted to go. They're depressed because they feel like other people have passed them by. They feel mentally and emotionally depressed because they can't understand why the next person seems to have an edge on them. And, life is full of people who seem like they have an edge. One of the things I like about my current stage of life, I'm 73 years of age, is that old age, or getting older, is really quite an equalizer. I look at some of the guys who I thought were really, and women, who I thought were handsome and beautiful when we were in high school, maybe younger. But they have to deal with the effects of aging just like I do. And, when you're young, almost everybody has a head full of hair. When you're young, fewer people are overweight. When you're young, most of us didn't have to wear glasses. But as we begin to age, you find that the physical attributes of a person are not as, at least to me, not as big a deal as when they were when you were young. And I think more important than the surface kind of issues is simply the people who are successful that I look at my age now are people who simply did not give up. They just were determined that they were going to make their marriage work, determined that they were going to be a success at work, determined they were going to be a good parent, determined that they were going to do the best that they could with their bodies, that at 70 and 80 years of age, they're still exercising, still trying to push a little weight and to do the best that they can. And that's what I'm trying to do in my life. In my life, I'm trying to make the most of every day. I'm trying to make the most of every night. I try to make the most of every minute, every moment of life. And more than anything else, I don't want to give up. When I get tired, I hear a voice that says, keep pushing. When a door shuts in my face, I see the light of God behind that door. When a river looks like it's about ready to drown me, I just pray to the Lord for the strength to start swimming. And somehow the Lord gives me energy. Somehow the Lord has given me hope. Somehow the Lord has given me faith to believe in myself, to believe in the dreams, to believe in the things that really matter to me. And in the process, life is working well. And I tell you, with this ministry that I'm doing right now, that you're looking at, this is a dream of mine. I've been dreaming about this since I was 24 years of age. I had an opportunity to be a guest host on our NBC affiliate in Detroit, WDIV, for Christian broadcasting. And I looked at that and I said, I really like this. But for different reasons, professional reasons, political reasons, I just never did this. But something got in me a few years ago and I said, Nick, you had a dream when you were 24. Why give up on that dream? Go for it. Go for it and don't turn around. Don't look back. Don't blink. Don't be afraid. When it looks like all odds are stacked against you, just keep on pushing. Keep moving, keep fighting, keep dreaming, and the Lord will bless you. And you know something? The Lord is blessing me right now. The Lord is blessing me in ways that I can't even imagine. The Lord is blessing me through the work of people I didn't know. The Lord is blessing me through people who are in positions of power that could have destroyed this ministry, but in turn have actually been my greatest help. And when I look at that, all I can think of is I just praise the Lord because the Lord is doing something wonderful for me right now. And I want to pray for you that the Lord will do something wonderful for you. You may not see it. You may not believe it. You may not understand it. But I believe today that the Lord has a blessing for you. Your name is written right on it. Just hold on in faith, work for it, and whatever you do, don't give up. God bless.
We hope you've been blessed in a powerful way. Just knowing you took the time to watch today's broadcast is a great encouragement to Pastor Nick Hood. If this broadcast has been a blessing to you, we ask that you mail a tax-free donation to Nicholas Hood Ministries at 4535 Chrysler Drive, Detroit, Michigan, 48201.
God is trying to show you something every step of the way. When things seem to be going wrong, that's God's way of opening another door. I am convinced that God has been directing me every step of my life.
On the Word Network.